Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Rip Body Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Coach Matt. Matt, welcome onto the show.
Thank you. Excited to be back.
Today, we're going to be talking about maintenance. So, finding your calorie maintenance, this is relevant after you have finished dieting. It may also be relevant to you, given that we're coming into this Christmas period, and you may wish to not continue your diet pursuits at this time and just come to maintenance. Sit there, enjoy the time so that you can then continue once the new year rolls around. So that will be the topic for today. I'm excited to get to it.
Yeah, me too.
Before we do, you wanted to ask me something. You off-air things.
Yeah, I was asking. We haven't talked in a little bit. It's been a while since I've been updated on the shoulder rehab injury. How's everything been going?
Yeah, I've had a couple of people ask. It's slow.
Yeah.
I'm still not able to train on my right side. Let's see if it's possible to see this difference. I haven't rolled my sleeves up in ages. Can you see that one arm is wasted away a little bit? It's not that much of a difference, I guess.
If you hadn't pointed it out, I don't think I would have noticed.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
So this kind of speaks to the transference effect that can happen. And also the fact that we don't need to fear muscle loss from having a few weeks off of training. In my case, I haven't trained that right side of my upper body now for more than 3 months. And that's where I'm at. Yes, I've lost some muscle. Am I concerned about it? No, not really, because I know I'll get that back once I'm able to train. Now, why am I not able to train? I got the all clear yesterday to do some rowing, but until we can get the full range of motion back, I'm told that I shouldn't be doing anything further on that right side, just because this is my physio. It can interfere with us being able to get back into a full range of motion, potentially permanently. So obviously we don't want to do that. So right now, I was able to do my hair with my right hand, so I can just about get it up on my head. I can wipe my bum with my right hand now, which is a really big milestone. It's nice. I can shake hands
You got everything you need.
I know, right? Right. I can shake hands without fear. Yeah, those are the three things that you need, right?
Have you just been training like with just the left, like one arm, everything?
Yeah, basically. I've been doing leg extensions, leg curls, leg presses, dumbbell RDLs, just using my left hand. And then for the upper body, it's been seated rows just with the left hand, machine chest presses, machine shoulder presses, and single arm lat pull downs. So essentially the big four movements: upper body push pull, both vertically and horizontally, but just on the one arm. It's been okay for maintaining the muscle that was there, but it hasn't been ideal for sure. But it is what it is. I have to just see the big picture here and stay calm and stay patient. It's been rough though.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I had a similar injury. Not quite as bad, but I had a lot of shoulder limitations for a few months. It's very frustrating.
How did you do that? Was that BJJ?
Yes, it was. And then I stopped after that. I haven't been back since then.
It was funny that I was at the physios just yesterday and I pointed out the one ogi, that's the uniform that people who do judo wear, which is the same for the BJJ, a big thick gi, it's called, right? And it had the name, it was behind glass and it was signed. And I said, oh, who is Abe-san? Were they in the Olympics by any chance? And he was like, oh yeah, they're a gold medalist. I was like, oh wow. So did they injure themselves? Did they do their shoulder or something? Because the place I'm going to, they do shoulder surgeries like all day, every day. And he says, oh yeah, all the judokas break their shoulders.
Yep.
Every single one. And I was like, oh, he says, it's not a case of if, it's just a case of when. Shoulders and knees, they always go. So yeah, rough sports.
Yes, it is. Second thing I was going to ask, I started asking about, a little change of topic. A while ago, we were talking about the muscle and strength pyramids, and there was a third edition coming. When can we expect that?
Yeah, I feel like
What's the status with the...
Oh man, I feel like I've been talking about these for over a year now, which I have actually, because we've been gathering feedback from readers, and it's like curse where when you talk about it, people then start expecting it, but they underestimate how long it will take. And we also tend to underestimate as creators how long it will take. However, the writing is done. The tables are done. The figures are almost done. The training book ones are done. The nutrition ones are being done. The layout is in the process of being done. Then it's just going to come down to me figuring out again how to use Amazon so we can get them on there, figuring out the systems for delivering the books like PDFs for all the people that bought those second editions, coming up with a launch plan. So I need to dig back into what James Clear did for his Atomic Habits launch. He shared a pod with me where he talked about this. So I'm going to go through that. And then some website updates because I need to rebuild the nutrition calculator, calories, macros, etc., and do some finishing touches for the new training program spreadsheet that we have. And I need to update about 15 articles on the website so that the content is in line with the third edition of the books in time for the launch. So yeah, man, there's lots of stuff. There's lots.
You got a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, New Year launch.
A lot has been done, but a New Year launch.
I'm confident for a New Year launch. Yeah, that's what we're going for.
Awesome.
I'll break myself to make that happen. It's kind of on my shoulders at this point. Any issue with that happening is fully my responsibility, not Eric. It's at the point where I even hired 2 layout people because just in case there was an issue with one of them and things were delayed, I didn't want that to happen. So we're paying double there. Yeah, I'm excited. The books are basically completely rewritten. They'll be very familiar with people, the overall layout, because the pyramid hasn't changed, but the content has changed. Yeah, excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get those books and read them. Can't wait.
All right. So did you read the email that I sent a few weeks back on maintenance weight? There was a gentleman, he came on the podcast, Fred. That's it. Oh, Fred. Do you know the email I'm talking about before I go further?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so Fred.
About how to calculate maintenance weight after the cut and everything. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Now, Fred was a bit of a special case because he had lost half of his body weight. Let me see if I can find the exact numbers here. He came from 360 pounds, there we go, and is now down to 166.
Wow. Good for Fred. That's awesome.
Dude, this guy is incredible. If you haven't heard that episode, I'd highly recommend that you listen to it. It was called From 360 Pounds to 173, and I'm Still Not Done. Yeah, Fred's an absolute machine. Anyway, he came to us and he was like, look, how do I find my maintenance weight goal? He's stopped the cut for the time being because he hasn't been sleeping well and his recovery was poor, and he just wants to get through to the end of the new year and then start cutting again in January, which I know for many people that may seem crazy given that he's already lost 194 pounds, but he's so close to his abs right now, he just wants to see if he can get them. So he wanted to know what resting weight he will probably need to be at after he's back at maintenance. So he cuts down to 166. He's now come up to about 170. What should he really be targeting here was his question to us. I mean, you've worked with plenty of clients now. You've helped them find maintenance after a diet. What is it that you typically see, Matt, with your clients?
It really depends on their size. You know, people who are a little bit heavier or larger will hold more weight, but pretty much everyone is going to gain, I would say, at least like 3 to 5 pounds back pretty quickly, just from eating more food, refilling glycogen stores. This is what I always tell clients. Like at the end of a cut, if you've been cutting for a while, you're going to be pretty depleted. Your body's not going to be holding a lot of glycogen. You're not going to have a lot of food in your gut. And so as we start to refeed and refill things, the scale is going to go up. And it's not fat, obviously, but yeah, I would say 3 to 5 pounds, sometimes more for sure, sometimes less. But there's always an initial weight spike in the first week or so.
And then for someone like Fred, what really should he be expecting? He's come down from 360. He's now 166, 170 actually. He's come back up slightly over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he'll probably put on a little bit more. We're talking scale, right? He's probably got a lot of metabolic stuff going on.
Sure.
Okay. So I would say, 5 to 10 pounds.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
I was thinking as well. If you were to gain 10 pounds, that wouldn't surprise me at all. He's obviously got a lot more tissue there that can come back and hold on to water. So yeah, that wouldn't be surprising. I'd say the main thing for him is to just not panic. I'm sure this is something that you have to remind clients as well. Just when you regain the weight, don't panic.
Yeah, I always try to tell them this ahead of time. It's going to happen. We expect this. It's like pouring water over a dry sponge. Like your body's just going to soak up. You're going to hold some more water. The plus side is you're probably going to look better and feel better pretty quickly in the gym, which is nice, but the scale is going to go up.
Yeah. This is also relevant to those who are dieting and trying to think of what your body weight may be when you finish your cut. We've actually got a tool on the website. It's called the Target Body Weight Calculator, which you'll find in the Calculators tab. When you calculate, let's say you punch in what you estimate your body fat to be right now, you then punch in what your target body fat is, it will give you a number on how many pounds you need to lose, and that's assuming that you maintain all of your muscle mass, which you should, because the majority of our readers, they're not looking to get on stage, so they're not looking to get to 5% body fat, we're talking more like 10, which is still shredded lean, but really it's from 10 to 5%, that's where kind of a little bit of muscle loss tends to be inevitable.
Yeah.
So the one thing to bear in mind is that you will actually lose a little more than what's predicted there. And that's because of this water, gut content, and glycogen loss. And that will be regained once you come back to maintenance. So for Fred here, it was really a case of his calorie deficit, or his rate of weight loss rather, which was, I think it was a pound a week. And we asked him to add in 500 calories per pound that he was losing weight. That's roughly the math on that. And then add in again his body weight in pounds. So he weighs 170, so we'll add in another 170 calories. This is just a rough heuristic I use for the metabolic adaptation that happens, which may be a little more severe in Fred's case. But what that means is that if he was eating, say, 1,500 calories, then he would bump up his calorie intake to 2,170. He'd then sit there for a few weeks. He may gain 5 to 10 pounds. He will see his weight stabilize for the last couple of weeks. And then if his weight trends down, or even if his weight stays stable, he can try nudging up his calorie intake to try to find something that we call maximum maintenance. So you can nudge it up by, let's say your weight is stable, nudge it up by another 150 calories, see if your weight still remains stable after a few weeks. If so, fantastic. Essentially, you want to keep trying to nudge. When you're looking to find maximum maintenance, you want to see how much you can nudge things up before you start regaining, or before the trend is that you're regaining weight. Not that initial jump from eating a little bit more that have in the first week. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one for people. If you want to go to ripbody.com/finding-calorie-maintenance, then you'll see it there. And yeah, that can make a big difference for your ability to sustain your physique throughout this holiday period. You're giving yourself a nice buffer there. And you're also going into this knowing in advance that you are going to regain some weight, but you're going to purposefully regain it before, rather than waking up the day after Christmas and being like, oh no, I messed up, which a lot of people just can't.
It's a huge difference.
They can't get their heads around it, right? Well, that won't happen now, because you will have already regained the glycogen, gut content, and water, right?
Right, yeah.
So then let's extend this. This is something we didn't talk about in that email. If we were to then say to Fred, hey, rather than just thinking about what nutritional maintenance might be, what would training maintenance potentially look like? What is the minimum that Fred could do and get away with maintaining his physique? I think that's an interesting question that people can ask. And yeah, so I wanted to cover that today. So what are your thoughts on that one?
I don't know if I have a specific number. It's a little bit harder to calculate than figuring out how many calories to add back in. But I think most people are going to be really surprised by how little it takes to maintain the muscle you have, the gains you made, especially if you're eating at maintenance. If you're still in a deficit, you might not want to cut your training back so much. But if you're eating more, I would say probably cut your volume in half, whether that's going to the gym less often or just shortening up your sessions a little bit. It's almost always much, much easier to maintain muscle than to build new muscle. And I think a lot of people have seen this if they're sick or busy or traveling, or like during COVID when all the gyms shut down and people couldn't get home equipment. I think a lot of us have been in situations where training just has to get cut back, or it's a lot less. And it can be kind of surprising to see how much better you feel once you get back into the gym after a break, but how easy it is to maintain what you have.
Yeah, that's also what I saw with clients over COVID as well. You weren't part of the team then. So that's why I say I saw rather than we saw. So yeah, it also with myself, I wasn't able to lift for, I think it was 5 weeks, anything, even on the good side, which was frustrating as hell because there was a gap of, so I got injured, then it was 2 weeks until the surgery, and then it was 3 weeks after the surgery before I could lift even lightly on my good side. So that was quite frustrating. But was there a bit of strength loss? A little. Was there some size loss? Probably. But there's not that much of a difference now, even though I'm only getting to the gym like 3 times a week, alternating upper and lower. So it's about 1.5 times a week I'm actually getting in quote unquote body part, right, for the stuff that works. So it's been great to see that I've been able to maintain despite the limitations that have been forced on me. I remember when I was a kid, I had an opportunity to go backpacking, and I was really scared of going on an extended trip backpacking. I thought I'd lose all my muscle mass. All of those gains, the modicum of gains that I'd made over those few years, I thought I'd lose them all when I went traveling, and that scared the hell out of me. I don't know if you ever felt that way.
I haven't really gone on super long trips like that, but I've definitely had phases, where I'm not training as much, or if I'm traveling and I can't get to the gym, I'll just do a little bit of body weight stuff. And yeah, I feel like, oh, there's no way this is going to be enough, but it's always pleasantly surprising. I think it doesn't take much, I feel like, to just give your body some sort of stimulus to keep your muscle going, even if it's not the full workout you would get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wish I could go back in time, but we can't take our knowledge back, can we? Anyway,
Yeah.
so for this guy, Fred, we mentioned that there were two paths he could potentially take. One, and you could do this as well, dear listener. So one, you could cut your training in half, set that as a base and go from there. One of the methods of cutting your training in half would be to cut your frequency with which you're hitting the gym in half. So keep your same training plan, but just rotate it across more days. So your training plan for 1 week is now spread across 2. The other option would be to just do half of the exercises or half of the sets you are currently doing. So if you're currently doing 4 sets, then you just do 2 of every exercise. As simple as that, really. Can you think of the pros and cons of each approach?
The first thing that came to my mind was, I know for a lot of people, and for myself especially, I like going to the gym, but I like having the momentum of just going, right? If I miss a few days in a row, I feel like, I know it's not bad, but if I skip like 3, 4 days in a row, I feel like something's off and it can be a little bit harder to get going again. Or if you're sick for a week, anytime you cut back how often you're training, it can be a little bit harder to get that momentum going again. So for some people, if they're used to going to the gym 4 days a week and now they're only going twice, they might feel like they're missing something, even if we know they're not. In that case, it might be better to just keep going and do a little bit less in the gym, kind of like we would treat a deload or something. But if it's training maintenance for the holiday season, as he mentioned, if his schedule's busy, if he's traveling for the holidays and just doesn't have time, then cutting your days in half might be a better approach. I think it's very individual in sort of how the person is feeling. And if they like going to the gym or if they want some time off, that's a little bit different for everyone. What do you think?
My approach for these past few months has been to continue going, even on the days where I have no planned strength training, because the walk to the gym, the stretching that I can do, it will be recumbent cycling and then also regular seated cycling, those 2 machines that I can do now because I'm able to put a bit of pressure on my arm. That has helped me mentally. And obviously this is specific to me, but it helped me feel less useless, which there were some days where I just feel useless. I had a couple of rough moments where I threw myself a bit of an internal pity party. I snapped out of it, but I was just really, really frustrated. And that helped me. How can I say? I believe that sometimes, that often, we don't want to wait for motivation to strike before we take action. We want to take action knowing that we'll be motivated by doing the action, if that makes sense. So I just put my trust in the fact that if I do what I can and keep doing that consistently, it will have a positive effect on my mental state. I will feel less useless. And that will be because I'm taking back control of the situation and doing what I can. And that did really help me. Sorry, that wasn't a very eloquent way of putting things, but I hope it made sense. Did that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I'm the same way when I've had injuries over this past year. And like, it's frustrating to not be able to do what I want, but yeah, I agree. Just doing something is good. Like as much of your routine as you can keep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like what you said too about like motivation, even if you're not, or going, not waiting for motivation to go. I think that's part of what I was thinking with continuing to go as often as you can. I know most people aren't training every day. I'm going to butcher this quote. There's something in Atomic Habits where he's like talking about you don't want to miss twice. If you miss a day, it's fine. But if you miss 2 or 3, that starts to become your new thing. I don't know. I feel like it's helpful to still go as often as you can. Even if you go and just do a little bit, you're still going to the gym. You still keep that momentum going. You're still doing something for yourself. I think it's important. There's a guy at my gym who's a pro wrestler who had a pretty big knee operation. And he was one of the biggest, strongest guys. And for months, like he was still coming in every day with his knee brace. And all he could do was just sit there on the little hand thing and like crank that and do some rehab stuff. But I still saw him like almost every day, still showing up. I think that was just part of his like daily routine. Yeah, and it's cool to see it. The same thing. Like he wasn't training very hard, but he's still trying to do what he could. And yeah, I think it's probably like you were saying, just to stay mentally in a good space.
I think the quote you're referring to, James had set himself a rule that he wouldn't miss twice.
That's it. Yeah.
His rule was, I train 3 days a week. This is my schedule and I don't miss twice. And he had quite a few things. Anything that he'd planned on doing, he just made a rule for himself. Missing once is okay, but never twice in a row. So that was just a way to stop him from beating himself up when shit happened. Because within his rules, he's not to be considered a failure or he's let himself down, which is true. But also stop it getting into a cascade of bad decisions. He's just, no, I have to get back. That's the rule. I'm allowed to miss once, but not twice. That can be very powerful.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. You remembered it better.
It's all right. Yeah. So for this period, if you've got a lot of parties coming up, you have a lot of times when you're going to be eating out. It's going to be a little difficult. Maybe you're not going to be able to get to the gym as much. Don't worry. There's still a lot that you can do. You don't have to be perfect. Maybe you regain some weight, or you're very likely to regain some weight over this period. It's not necessarily going to be fat. The majority of it's going to be water, gut content, and glycogen. It is an option if you wish to bring yourself to maintenance, which will be, again, your rate of weight loss in pounds multiplied by 500. So if you're losing a pound a week, add in 500 calories and then add in your body weight in pounds. You can roughly half that for kilos. And if you need to miss some sessions in the gym, it's really not a big deal. The most important thing is that you keep up good habits and don't just quit entirely. Just don't fall into this all or nothing trap. Yeah. You saw the picture of the client that I flashed up on the screen before I hit record, Matt. Did you see that guy?
Yeah.
Right, so that's Michael. How would you describe the shape that Michael... He gave me permission to share his photos a few months back, but he hasn't given me permission to share the most recent ones, so I'm not going to here. But how would you describe the shape that Michael is in?
Dude's jacked. Super muscular, super lean. Yeah.
He's not a competitive bodybuilder, but he is a guy that could absolutely jump on an amateur stage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He looks like a men's physique dude. Like, he's in really good shape. Yeah. I didn't know who it was when I saw the picture, but like, yeah, this guy's in good shape.
So the reason I flashed that up is because he is one of those guys that I'm saying to him, like, look, if you want to just hit maintenance, he does have some, he calls them lagging areas that he wants to bring up over the course of this next bulk that he's going to do on his own. Yeah, we worked together for a couple of years. He's now doing this on his own, and he just updated me this week.
Oh, cool.
So that's really nice to see. It looks like we've gained something like 3 to 4 pounds of muscle. And I know that may not seem like a lot, but he's happy with that. That's a good change given the level of where he was at with his level of physique advancement. I said to him, there may come a time where you don't enjoy the process anymore. And remember that it's fine to not chase further perfection. So I use those words because 99.9% of guys would look at your physique and consider it a dream. Mm-hmm. And further, you're not stepping onto a bodybuilding stage. So the only person that you are, quote unquote, competing against is yourself. So if you did want to simply maintain your incredible physique, then you could likely cut your training volume in half by holding your calories at maintenance. And although this may feel strange and perhaps a little lazy and difficult to get used to, your body, especially your joints, is having some joint issues, will appreciate that break. And you never know, you may feel refreshed after a few months, and I'm excited to come back and attack this again. So that was my advice to him. My point there is it applies even at the highest levels, and I don't want you to feel that it's something that doesn't necessarily apply to you. I mean, perhaps even more, it applies at those highest levels where people have been working so hard for so long, they forget that it's okay to take a break, right? Yeah. Anything further to add here, Matt?
No, I think we've covered it pretty well. I don't have anything else to add.
All right, perfect. Then we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening. If you're not on the email list, go over to ripbody.com, add your email, and we will give you our 15-day kickstart course. That is our nutrition book, our training programs, 1 email a day guiding you through on how to implement everything and how to make the most common mistakes that people make. If coaching come this new year is of interest, I recommend you go to the coaching tab on the website. So that's ripbody.com/coaching. Click there, have a read through, see if it looks like something that you may be interested in, and then apply. Do that early because we are going to be fully booked come New Year. It is the busiest time of year, obviously. So yeah, we'd love to see how we can help. Nothing further. Appreciate you listening. Thank you. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.
See you guys.